After about a week, Colby Covington has finally resumed social media. Colby made his first social media post since the alleged sucker punch from Georges Masvidal by sharing pictures he took with the Nelk boys that allegedly gave away his location. His last post was on March 21st, which is the same day that Masvidal punched him. Masvidal was arrested and charged for his assault on Covington, of which he posted about at length last week. He was then released on bond shortly after. Till date, Covington has not commented on the alleged actions of Masvidal. Colby also posted an ad for Bang Energy. In the photo he posted for Bang, Colby appears to have a mark under his right eye. We're not exactly sure if it's from the fight with Masvidal or the punch outside the state cast. In addition, Colby showed up on Full Send podcast talking about how his parents reacted to his persona. His parents were not too pleased with his trash talking, and they called him multiple times to remind him that he wasn't raised like that. Dude, I got so many effing calls from them screaming at me. I can't believe you effing called the Brazilians filthy animals, Covington said on the Full Send podcast. I didn't raise you like that. You should effing wash your mouth out with soap. I was like, Mum, they were acting like filthy animals. What do you want me to do? Though Covington's parents are against his trash talking, his UFC persona was what made Colby a major star in the UFC. This means that he might have to keep at it until the end of his career in MMA. The Liverpool fighter Paddy Pimblett is on the path of becoming one of the greatest fighters in the UFC. With only 2 fights to his credit in the UFC, he's been able to generate a lot of buzz and has gotten himself some sponsorships as well. In his last fight, Paddy stopped Rodrigo Vargas inside a round. This has made the crowd come to the conclusion that Paddy Pimblett is the next superstar. The victory of Pimblett has had also led many people to draw up comparisons between the baddie and the notorious. These comparisons have been questioned strongly by Chael Sonnen. In a recent video uploaded by Chael, these were what he had to say. Where is that coming from? How did this ever get going? It seems to be as though anybody who's interesting to listen to and somewhat clever, but also brings an accent to the table, instantly gets compared to Conor McGregor. Paddy's not the first. There's been a pretty good handful of people from that side of the world that are good with rhetorical skills. That instantly gets compared that they're going to be the next Conor McGregor. It seems like a big claim, and I'm not seeing how it's getting made. Chael Sonnen concluded by saying, "I'm not putting Paddy down here. I'm just pointing out the obvious so that we all don't get lost." Paddy said, "I'll not fight the best guys. Not anyone, anytime, anywhere. None of those things. Don't bring me anybody in the top 15. Don't ever bring me an opponent that's got a ranking while I'm under the current contract. I'm not putting Paddy down. I'm still searching for anything that has to do with Paddy and Conor intersecting. Other than they're both interesting guys who bring an accent, who are pretty good on a microphone." From what Sonnen has said, it's clear that he's of the opinion that the 2 fighters are interesting to watch, and they both have the accent to bring in that great energy. But they do not share the same fighting strategies or mindset. Do you support Chael Sonnen's claim that the comparisons between the 2 fighters are not necessary? Brenden Schaub wasn't too pleased with Georges Masvidal and Covington altercation. Schaub also compared this incident to Will Smith slapping Chris Rock at the Oscars. Schaub highlighted the fact that the duo had 5 rounds at their UFC 272 main event to do everything that needed to be done. Georges Masvidal could not concede defeat. Schaub stated that, "You got your ass whooped. Colby beat his ass for 25 minutes, dude. And then you retaliate by finding out what restaurant he's at and sucker punching him? It's so stupid. And for what? Did it feel good to sucker punch a guy and chip his tooth when you got literally destroyed for 25 minutes legally by commission in the sport?" Brenden went further to compare Georges Masvidal's attack on Covington with Will Smith slapping Chris Rock. Brenden is of the opinion there are certain times to make this physical. Will Smith, basically a cheap shot too. It's just tendencies, dude. Soft shh. Society's getting softer and softer. Anybody who's sticking up for Will Smith, sticking up for Masvidal, it's just soft. Beta, soy boy shh. In the feud between Jon Jones and Chael Sonnen, Daniel Cormier has taken the side of Jon Jones, even though they do not have the most friendly history. Anyone that knows Jon Jones will also be aware of the fact that Jones has a track record of getting into trouble with the law. Just as expected, this has caused many stories and opinions about the 2-time heavyweight champion to be circulated over the years. Recently, Jones got into an alleged domestic violence situation with his then fiancée. This incident happened the morning after his induction into the UFC Hall of Fame in September 2021. Chael Sonnen was among those that had something to say about this news. Now tables seem to have turned as Sonnen has found himself in a peculiar situation where he allegedly assaulted several individuals in a Las Vegas hotel hallway. This has exposed Sonnen to some attacks from Jones, who has always been the target of every criticism. In Cormier YouTube channel, he said, "Fellas, are we adults or are we children? What happened to turning the other cheek? What happened to taking the high road? These two haven't taken the high road in one instance in regards to each other. But here's the thing, certain situations, you gotta kinda look the other way." Cormier went further to say, "Chael, my boy, is going to say whatever he feels like saying, and in that, you open yourself up for that rebuttal, if by chance you find yourself in a situation," Cormier said. Unfortunately, Chael finds himself in a situation that I have no knowledge of to speak on. I'm not surprised that Jones is taking shots at Chael right now, because every time that Jones found himself in those issues, and that was a multitude of times, Chael was there to judge, he added. In a bid to decide the fate of Ukraine, the popular tech billionaire Elon Musk has challenged the president of Russia, Vladimir Putin, to a single combat. The UFC commentator and former Taekwondo black belt Joe Rogan has offered his services to Musk to make it easier for him to defeat Putin. In Rogan's podcast, he stated that Elon Musk is a strange character. He's a very big man. He's not small. Putin is smaller than me. Elon is quite a bit bigger than me. Elon's probably 6'2", and he's a big guy. I offered my services. I text him. I said, "Dude, I'll arrange all your training." I go, "If you really do fight Putin, I'll arrange all your training." The former Fear Factor host is more than qualified for his role, as he is more than a UFC mouthpiece. Rogan has to his record a 4-time Massachusetts Taekwondo champion in his youth. He's also been training Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and Muay Thai for a larger percentage of his adult life. According to Musk, he had some match with a world champion sumo wrestler back in the day for fun, and he effed his neck up, like throwing this guy outside of the ring, Rogan continued. But he actually defeated some world champion sumo wrestler. Elon Musk also tweeted about this. "Managed to throw him, but it cost me smashing my C5 C6 disc and 8 years of mega back pain." Musk wrote on Twitter, "Finally fixed with C5 C6 disc function." The bantamweight champion Aljamain Sterling will be fighting with the interim champion Petr Yan at the co-main event of the UFC 273 on April 9th. This rematch is sequel to their controversial title fight at the UFC 259 in March 2021. In their first fight, Yan lost his belt via disqualification to Sterling. Yan later went on to defeat Sandhagen at UFC 267. Sandhagen has also previously lost to Sterling via submission at UFC 250. So this puts him in the best position to compare the two fighters, and this is what he has to say. "I think Sterling is always dangerous because he's such a good grappler. And I think Yan is super dangerous because he punches hard as hell," Sandhagen told MMA Junkie. "I think Yan is likely the more well-rounded guy. But I think if Yan goes in thinking that he's going to crush him because of the way that the fight went last time, I think that would be a huge mistake on Yan's part. But I don't think he's that poor of a competitor." Sandhagen added that, "I think that he's going to go in and do really well again and not let the last fight impact him. And I think Yan is just kind of the better all-round competitor also than Sterling is." But that being said, Sterling's a very good fighter. He's a very good competitor and he's a good grappler, so there's always that. Sandhagen further stated that Sterling is the one that should adjust his approach. "If I was him, I would definitely change the pace that I was fighting," Sandhagen said. "It was a little bit chaotic, but it also threw Yan off a lot too, so that was a positive that came from that. But you saw in the later rounds that it was definitely not going to be something that would have benefited him in rounds 4 and 5. If I was Sterling, I would definitely change the pace of the fight." And that wraps it up for today's video. Don't forget to comment, subscribe to MMA Play, and also turn on your notifications so as not to miss out on any of the latest news in MMA. And we'll see you soon.